Radio, everyone is a star.
I know that's right.
On your smooth soul and R&B station. On the World Wide Web.
Access granted.
In Touch Radio.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host, guests, and callers who are responsible for their content and do not reflect the opinions of In Touch Radio or its staff.
Good morning. Happy Saturday, everybody. You're listening to In Touch News Radio, reality radio where I could be a star. My name is Clinton Paris, and I have the pleasure of serving as the host of Straight Up the Middle, a political talk show and current events, the discussion that we engage in every day. And as always, I am just excited to be here. I'm excited that you are here with me, participating in what I called a open public therapy. There are some people that get their therapy standing in the middle of intersections, blocking traffic, just talking to somebody in that space. Well, they could very easily be sitting behind this desk in front of a microphone. That's what I choose to do. So if you ever wonder why I'm not standing in the middle of an intersection just talking to the sky, it's because I have you all here with me to have these discussions every week as we look back on what has happened, look forward to see what is going to happen, and maybe think about how we play a role in shaping the events of the day. Because whether you like it or not, the world is moving forward. I know, we sometimes get exhausted. We want to take a break. We want to just stop for a minute and catch our breath. But the world is moving forward. Any minute that you're not in a progressive mindset, taking progressive action, you're falling behind. And so I'm always excited to get on this radio and talk with you about the things that are happening. And most of it, we try to stick as close as we can to the politics of the day. That's a big issue for me, and that is understanding, because America is set up in an interesting power dynamic. There are a couple of things that determine if you have power. Like, one of them used to be back in the olden days when the country was being developed, was whether or not you had control of water. See, we don't think of that. We think we just turn the tap on. Well, there was a time when if you didn't have water on your land wasn't valuable, right? So having control of water or being near a river. Think about the cities you know. Let's think about America, the cities. And think how many cities are on water. Just think about that. How many cities are on water? You go up and down the Mississippi, there's a major city every 30, 40 miles. You go along the coast of the country. The 13 colonies, where they start out, they're along the coast. They're near water. You go up up into Canada. They went up through New York. All of initial development in our country and around the world, it is determined by control of water. So having access to water is a big issue. But then we shifted, okay, we got control of the water and spread it out. Then it became, whether do you have land? That's still it. Do you own property? We had people complaining about where we're located in Florida, rent increases. Rent's going up. Rent's going up. Rent's going up. Well, rent going up doesn't affect the person that owns the property. It affects the person that does not own the property, does not have any power. So land control and access to land ownership, huge part. And America used land ownership as a defense mechanism to potential communism and socialism back at the turn of the century. But we'll leave that for another day to talk about that land ownership. Now the big one is this: access to information. And that's why we have an information war going on about what's true and what's not true, what you can rely upon and what you can't. There was a time when news, we were told anyway, if it's on the news, you can pretty much rely upon it. But now, whenever you see something on the news, the first thing you want to remind yourself is, wait a minute, before I take that and chase it down, what station am I listening to? It's unfortunate that that's something we have to think about now, but information is now key. So access to information. I was shocked to have a niece going off to college and, being everybody's, well, in my family, my nephews and nieces refer to me as the favorite uncle. I'm just all of their favorites for various reasons, and so my great niece was going off to school, and I, long time ago, forgot I told her, well, you get into college to go to college. Your favorite Uncle Clint will come through with the computer. Well, she held me to that. And thankfully, her granddad was willing to step in as well and able to make that happen for her. And so we went in half and half to get her a computer. I want to thank him for supporting me in what I committed to and coming and bailing me out. Because she wanted, hey, Bevel, she didn't want the regular computer, man. The thing's like $1,400. I was like, God diggity. I got the tax-free discount. I got a student discount because for a student, they're going to student. And then, the culturally conscious salesperson at Apple gave us a $150 gift card.
That's nice.
Yeah, so we got the number down to something that a brother in my tax bracket down where I'm at, I could manage it, But I'm saying that to say that computer is essential to her having access to information. We take that for granted. When kids come home from school and they can't get on the internet because they don't have internet at their house, they're at a major disadvantage to the kid that's got those other resources. So now the power structure is one of information is so powerful and access to information is so powerful. And particularly when it comes to our politics, access to information is so powerful because I believe this. At every level of government, democracy is under attack. Okay? At every level. I'm going to tell you something simple. I serve on a community advisory council. It's the Citizens Advisory Committee to the East Tampa CRA. I'm an elected official. You didn't know that, Bev. I was elected. I got 70 votes.
That's nice.
Me, man.
Congratulations.
So thank you, man. Very much. Serving my second term. I'm term limited now.
Okay.
So I'm kind of buck wild, they can't do that to me. But I've just found out our governing authority, the CRA, doesn't want elections anymore. They want to appoint the people. Now, what chance do you have if these people are appointed by the board of getting them to say something against what you're pushing? You're going to go along to get along. And so from that perspective, it's an attack on democracy because they don't like what they're hearing from us, those of us who are elected.
Oh, so they're just going to put somebody else in place.
So instead of letting the community elect these people, we're going to appoint some people going forward that we think will fit the bill a little bit better. Right? That's an attack on democracy. We just saw it in the state of Florida. You think it's just local? What did DeSantis say? Again, he doesn't like how crimes are being prosecuted by an elected official in Orlando. So what does he do?
Replace them.
He suspends the person. Again, that's a lack of trust in democracy. Because my thoughts are, if DeSantis didn't like, or whoever doesn't like what's happening in Orlando, the citizens of Orlando, Orange County, they get a say. They can vote that person out. That's trusting democracy to do. Let me tell you the further way they don't trust democracy. We saw it at the national level. The whole reason we ran into the January 6th situation was a distrust that democracy did not do what some people wanted it to do. And therefore now I can't trust democracy. And I understand that. I get it. I've had this happen in my car. I've had it happen in my car when I say, hey, kids, do y'all want to do X? And they yell, no, we want pizza.
Yeah.
That's democracy, but they don't have a will. So, but I'm just saying, so democracy, I think, is the trust and confidence around the world in democracy is really shaky right now. We just saw it in Nigeria. People don't realize it. What do we have? We had a coup. Democratically elected leadership was moved out by military leadership. People don't remember. You had the same thing in Ukraine. You had a Ukrainian president who was getting close to Russia, who was muscled out. And that's how we get the next elected official and the next elected official. So I just say that, democracy is under attack at all levels. And the question is, well, how do the people respond to that? The fact that in Orange County, you did not have a mass uprising says to me, hey, people are okay with it. You know, the fact that we're still battling over January 6th issues, saying half the country felt this way, half felt that way. People shouldn't go to jail, they'll be held accountable. Well, guess what that says to me? You're not really committed to democracy. But America's always shown that. And its history has shown that. So I'm not surprised, but we the people need to be alert to what it means, because this time it was a state attorney. Well, and I'll tell you what's behind this, that is the DeSantis' strength with the sheriffs. Because if the sheriffs didn't support DeSantis, I don't think he would mess with our state attorneys. But each time, he's already lined up sheriffs to come out and say, that's right, the state attorney's not prosecuting people in an aggressive way and putting people at risk, so we got to take some action. Then a conservative state Florida Supreme Court didn't really give relief the last time. So since it worked one time, hey, I'll try it again. Good morning. Good morning, caller. Your name and where you're calling from.
Good morning. This is Edna Rain. I'm calling from West Tampa, West Riverfront.
Hold on, I'll tell you. Now you can't come on this show throwing around neighborhood credentials without getting tested. Are you calling from West Tampa, or are you calling from West Tampa? Because I can tell by where you were. You must be down there Boulevard somewhere, or you cross a banner.
So I'm over here. If you want to get like that, I'm over here in West Riverfront. With the effort to change this place to North Hyde Park is being pushed back on daily. This is still our community, and we reject all ideas of this being called North Hyde Park. How about that?
I got it. Listen, I mean, so if this is the Honorable Edna Rain, former state representative and lawyer here in Tampa, and just a great community person that we are really proud of and happy that we have your sound judgment in the public discourse, Brother Lorraine. Listen, let me ask you, I on my mind is this issue that happened with DeSantis, with the state attorney. But I got to get your thoughts first on the brawl in Montgomery. And hopefully you had a chance to take a look at it. There are a number of things in that. But one of the thoughts I thought, the resounding cheer that I heard within the black community was one of frustration at oppression that continues. What was your take on what the exhilaration about that whole thing was?
So this is a PG show, so I'm just going to put it in some
We're on the
terms
internet. We're on the internet, man. We're on the internet. Listen,
we're on the internet. Okay, so it's a little bit different.
But then again, I don't want to get in trouble with DJ CEO. So let's not
DJ CEO back there flipping out.
Yeah,
He's worried about what I'm about to say.
Don't do it. Don't do
Let
it.
me put it in some terms that I think some folks will understand.
Okay, go ahead.
Those folks fooled around and found out. The reality is, black Americans for the longest time have always been subject to situations like that, where in the face of our granted authority, in this case, the co-captain of the boat was utilizing his authority to tell those folks to move, and they refused to move, their ultimate response was violence. And it's interesting because, racist, and I want to be clear when I say this, racist white Americans tend to say, violence is never the answer. But when you look throughout history, they have been the ones who have used violence to oppress and suppress black people.
Absolutely.
And we saw an example of that, but for camera phones being all over the place. That story would have been told, and it would have been told completely different. If you watch the ladies that were involved in the scrimmage afterwards, they went to the police officers and they were pleading their case that they were the ones that were attacked. They were doing nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And but for some witnesses with camera phones that said, look, they were the aggressors. They started this. Who knows who gets locked up in that particular situation?
Right.
So it's a long-winded way to say black people are tired of being on the wrong end of that situation. And for once, the good guys won, except for the brother with the chair. I mean, the second hit was unnecessary, but what can I say? He got caught up in the moment.
But you don't get caught. But it seemed like to me, and I'll just say this, that once you cross a certain threshold of passion and violence, I think all bets are off. That's what the whole stand your ground thing is about, is once violence starts, the idea that I can only use reasonable force to repel reasonable force kind of goes out the window, because it becomes, ultra subjective. That's me, the lawyer, talking, how I would argue that in court. As the brother was in a moment of passion, Judge, and he was overcome with exhilaration. And the chair was taking on a life. The chair had taken on a life of its own, so to speak. But I thought it was. Go ahead, brother Rain.
No. I was going to say the reason why we're all fixated on the chair is because it's actually kind of funny to black folks, right? And you could say, how is this funny to black folks? It's funny because throughout our history, we've taken our pain and we've made fun of our pain because it's the only way we can cope and survive, right?
Yes.
So for once, there wasn't guns involved. It was a chair. Now, God knows one gun in that situation and everything turns out differently.
Right.
But that man using that chair to beat back the one aggressor was one thing. The lady getting hit with the chair, I think, was unfortunate and unnecessary. I'll even challenge you that it was no longer self-defense because she wasn't a threat, but we can argue that legally at another time. But black folks, the memes that have been sent around, we really always have to make light of our pain because otherwise we're all going to be asked with the question, why wouldn't these white folks just move? They are clearly in the wrong, and you have a boat of 200 people that are being standard. What gives them privilege, the thought and the idea, privilege, that their rights are better than the collective rights?
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, I think you nail it there. Absolutely. Nail. Listen, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back on the other side and talk about something a little more closer to home, the situation over in Orlando with, I call it an attack, the continued attack on democracy, and while we discuss the suspension of State Attorney Monique Worrell by Governor DeSantis. Let's take this quick break. We'll come back on the other side, and we'll take up that discussion. This is In Touch News Radio, reality radio. Everybody could be a star. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Radio, where you can listen to a cruising flow of smooth soul and jazz, today's R&B, a fun touch of hip-hop and gospel.
All my music on one station.
Giving you a buffet of music, news, and entertainment. We're In Touch Radio.
Call Ricky. Ask Ricky. You need medical or a lawyer? I got the man to do the legwork for you. We tried the other ones before, so believe we hunted down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida. Grab a pen of sundown. 184-361-RICK. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, plus your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361-RICK. Call Ricky, ask Ricky, is a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and giving you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here-for-you.
All right, man, we're back live on Touch News Radio, reality radio, about to be a star. Again, my name is Clinton Paris. I'm the co-host of Saturday Morning. I got on the telephone line none other than the Honorable former State Representative Edwin Lorraine, and I wanted to have somebody come in and give us some perspective on the suspension of State Attorney Monique Worrell over in Orlando. This is let's go through what we saw happen, how this progressed. You may remember that this started with them taking certain cases from the state attorney in Orlando a couple years back, State Attorney Ayala. That was the first, avenue at cutting into, I think, our state attorneys. Then they suspended State Attorney Warren. I think it's Andrew Warren, and he fought that through the court system. And the Supreme Court said, you were wronged, but we can't reinstate you. We can't give you the relief that you need. And then the circuit court, the federal court said, well, you waited too long to come ask us. So I think that kind of gave DeSantis a green light. And so he's looking at Orlando. Orlando is a predominantly Democratic district. He's not going to lose any votes there. He can look tough around the state. So he goes over and says, I don't think I like the crimes you're prosecuting. So guess what? We're going to suspend you. Give us some perspective on this, Mr. Rain, as to what we're supposed to make out of this attack on democracy.
So let me just correct a couple of things real quick. It was a good synopsis, but I want to be very specific for a reason. When Andrew Warren was suspended last year, probably about the same time, it was a shock, and it was done because he signed a document saying that he wouldn't prosecute people who were seeking abortions. Right. Not for anything that he actually did. It was more what he potentially could do. But he doesn't have any cases in front of him dealing with criminal prosecution of abortion, so it was definitely in the wrong. His appeal was to the federal court first, and it was the federal court, the circuit court, that said, hey, you're in the right, the governor is wrong, he shouldn't have suspended you here. But we can't provide you relief because this was an action by a state governor, and you need to take this to the state court. When they took that to the state court, the Supreme Court said, hey, you waited too late for relief. And this is ultimately going to be the trap that is set for Governor DeSantis, because I believe State Attorney Worrell is going to take this case to the state first. And then, per the laws, the Senate has to have a trial. The Senate determines whether or not a removed elected official can get their position back, the state Senate. So I think this is going to play out a little bit differently. But what we're seeing here is a governor who's failing in the polls for the presidential primary on the Republican side. We see someone who has fired a third of his staff. He's fired his campaign manager. This is his third shakeup since he started running for president. And he needed a way to get back in the media. What better way to do that than to remove another elected official and say that they're not doing their job? It's crazy what's happening. You started the show talking about democracy being under attack, and that's exactly what we're seeing here.
And I think some of the things sometimes that gives politicians this sense of power, particularly when, it's like any kind of bully. You typically go and bully those that you think can't fight back against you. That's where you go. That's where you go. Normally, that's where people go and bully. And so there seems to be this perception that, well, what are black people going to really do about some of the things that we're doing in the state of Florida? Getting rid of D&I programs, things of that nature. In this state attorney, he probably is thinking, well, after I did what I did to Andrew Warren, well, why can't I get away with it? And I'll look tough. I'll stay in the news, but I don't know if I'm just thinking politically, though, for his agenda, what is he trying to say to those people that are currently behind Donald Trump to say, hey, here's why you come back me? And that is to say that I'll be a dictator, I'll be a tyrant. I don't see how he thinks that's going to be a winning slogan.
What he and his team fail to understand is that he's not Donald Trump, okay? Donald Trump is a celebrity. He was a celebrity before he was elected. He's still very popular amongst people in his space. For whatever reasons they gravitate towards him, they do. If you've ever had a conversation with this man, DeSantis, he doesn't have a personality. He's not very likable. This pivot to trying to be this everyman is not working for him because that's not who he is. He is an insecure individual who is constantly looking for people to pick on that he feels won't fight back because of the power of his office, not because of who he is. Let's be very honest and clear here. The reason why he selected State Attorney Worrell in this situation is because she is a black woman. Yes. And the reality is, throughout history, whenever black people are picked upon, the rest of the world kind of shrugs. No big deal. We're used to seeing black people at the bottom. It's not a problem. And what you're seeing here is that black folks, we're livid, okay? I can't tell you the number of messages I got. What are we going to do? Let's go march. And my immediate response to that is, why are we going to march? You don't march without an action plan and without a demand. What we need to do, on the other hand, is every NPHC group in this state, every urban league, every NAACP chapter needs to get out and register.
Yes,
voters.
register
Plain
voters.
and simple. And then, if you want to have an economic boycott, look, the Alphas look real smart right now, even though I don't know how you call for a boycott from Dallas, Texas, as if Texas's laws are better, and then move the convention to Georgia because Georgia's better. We all know their governors are not any different than
Absolutely,
DeSantis.
right.
So they grandstanded a little bit, but they have it right. There needs to be an economic impact, and we need to make sure that we're finding ways that we send a message to the state of Florida that we're not going to allow this man to continue to remove people we have elected. It's just wrong, and the only way to get their attention is through an economic boycott.
You know what? Well, let me say this though. Well, if you say that, but you saw what happened in Disney. I mean, there was $1 billion economic hit, and that didn't change very much. Or am I missing the point?
No, you got to play the long ball game, right?
Oh,
So
now, right. So let me say that then. Right. You walked in. I shouldn't do this to callers and guests, but it's my instinct to set traps. But that's the route that they went in South Carolina. You're right. But DeSantis, he's only got 2-3 more years. I think the price to pay is at the ballot box. The economics, I don't know if that's the way to go because you're going to be suffering from that impact. You just saw what we did in Tampa with the Kappa Conclave. I mean, the thing turned the city over. I mean, Tampa won't ever be. There's a mark in Tampa's history. It's called before conclave, and then it's after conclave. That's just the history of the floor of Tampa now. There's a before and a after of how it was viewed. And so with that in mind, you know, the after piece goes on forever. And so economically, I don't know that that's where we want to be, where we've hurt some, you know, area that could have really benefited from. It's not going to hurt DeSantis, I don't think. He needs major players. And let me say this also. I think DeSantis is pretty much done. The dude is not going to beat Donald Trump in the primaries unless Donald Trump is in jail. And I think in jail, Donald Trump still beats him. So I don't know. So I agree with you. So I'm just trying to, I just don't know where. Hopefully there is not one black person in the state of Florida who can show up at a family reunion that is going to support DeSantis. You can't support this kind of tyrant behavior.
I disagree. I think you've got a handful of folks out there. They may not be showing their hands right now, but like I say all the time, all my skin folk ain't my kinfolk.
Correct.
We have black folks that believe that what DeSantis and Donald Trump have been doing over the last 7 years is acceptable way of governing, and it's just not. You know, truth be told, they always use black voices to silence other black voices. We see what happened over in Central Florida when they dismantled the Reedy Creek district and set up the Central Florida Tourism District. What did they do? They put a blackface on it. What does that blackface do? First thing, gets rid of a DE&I program and then touts his prior relationship with the Urban League. Thank God for Mark Mariel and the urban leagues around the state that pushed back on it. We've seen the same thing. In Central Florida, you remove a duly elected state attorney and you replace her with a black sitting judge who said on the campaign trail when he was running for judge, we need more black male judges, and yes, I believe in diversion programs.
Correct.
What's the first thing he does when he gets in office? He removes diversion programs. So, folks, just because you look like me doesn't mean you think like me. We've got to be more careful with who we are letting sit down at that family table when we're having these conversations. Because it's black voices that are being used by people like DeSantis to silence us.
You know, it's interesting
and
you
I'm
bring
passionate
that up.
About this.
This to me is, I think, more troublesome than almost anything. Because in America, we're still trying to convince African Americans to buy into democracy. It has failed us from the outset. And so to have something of this nature happen, you know, for those people that went out and voted for this woman over in Orlando, what are they to think? Like, gee, well, why don't you just pick them all then? Why am I voting if you get to decide who's in these offices? And this is just kind of like with Trump at the national level. This could just be the start. could become standard fare that when I get in office, I'm going to get rid of some other people I don't like who are elected and make some appointments. And if you don't like it, well, the state, Florida Supreme Court and federal courts are going to, dilly-dally around with it. But what I decided, and so you will get more and more tyrant-type behavior.
Yeah. Well, what's happening is you're not finding quality candidates to run for office anymore. And so when you do get people who run, they're not running to help. They're running for power and what they believe these positions hold for them. So what a DeSantis and a Trump do is they set an example for future people that come behind them to try to do the same thing. Just look at Alabama, who purposefully drew out in every districting process a Democratic seat. Okay, the United States Supreme Court, as conservative as it is, said, "Hey, you guys, you want to bridge too far.
Yeah, it's too
Call
much
them
for
back
us."
to special session to redraw."
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know what they did? They redrew the lines, they put the seat back, and then they immediately appealed and said, "Hey, using the same logic you used here for affirmative action and eliminating it in the country, we believe that the Voting Rights Act is no longer needed in the United States." That's the next battle that we need to keep our eyes open for.
Absolutely. Listen, can you hold over to the next section? I want to follow up on this action that we could take maybe in fighting back. If you could just hang with us after this quick break. We're going to take another break, come back on the other side, just kind of get some ideas on what people can do in response, where you can send some money, maybe you can donate. Just get involved. We're going to take a quick break, come back on the other side. This is In Touch News Radio, reality radio, where everybody can be a star. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Hey, this is Tampa Bay Tammy. Don't forget to pick up your copy of In Touch News.
Tell a friend to listen in. It's In Touch Radio, reality radio.
Jazz at Miss Connie's house is brought to you by Ray Williams Funeral Home, providing the highest quality, professional, and caring service for your family. Call Jeffrey Rhodes at 813-253-3419. That's 813-253-3419. Or visit him at 301 North Howard Avenue, Tampa, Florida. Ray Williams Funeral Home for the finest care and quality service.
This is Attorney Clinton Parrish. Accidents are beyond your control, but deciding who will represent you is your decision. If you've been injured, call me at the law office of Clinton Parrish for a free consultation. 813-413-7924. Offices Riverview.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecues? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
All right, we're back live on In Touch News Radio, reality radio, and I've got on the phone line Edna Rain, and someone who I really I look to for guidance and a sound, reasoned voice in times of crisis. I think we're in a crisis, and if I could, so people who like me feeling frustrated, like they feel the need to do something. What could and should they be doing in this space right now? And we'll leave the organizations to figure out their direction. But what do individuals do? How do they respond to them, whether they're actually in the state of Florida or outside the state of Florida?
So I think some of it starts with the local engagement of your government, because that's where some of the drama goes down. Like, for example, right now, Hillsborough County's commission is looking at redrawing the lines and possibly expanding the county commission or changing the current format from a 4 members at large and 3 with districts, I can't remember the exact makeup right now, to all single-member districts. If you feel passionately about that, you need to find out when they're going to be having this discussion. Go down there as a citizen, make your voice heard. Our problem is we speak after these decisions get made, and then we try to figure out how we can roll them back. We need to be at the table letting people know up front that we don't agree with this. And what's particularly egregious about this plan is that they're trying to have that vote happen during the Republican presidential primary, which eliminates all your independents and would eliminate all the Democrats from coming out to vote. So, excuse me, they know what they're doing. They always come up with these crazy, nefarious plans under the guise of being Democratic. You know, the NAACP has their Freedom Fund dinner next month, the Hillsborough chapter.
Right.
People need to attend that. You need to support it. Why? You get a free membership, yes, but they use that money to fund a lot of the lawsuits that happen, to push back when there's a stepping on of rights, for lack of a better term, right now here locally. The Florida State Conference of the NAACP is also meeting next month in Orlando. Of course, there's organizations like the Black PAC. CHAPA started a political action committee, you know, that we can donate monies to. Some people think, hey, my little $10 a month is not going to make a difference. It makes a huge difference when you support these political action committees. Same thing for just simply supporting a candidate you believe in. Centris Driscoll is the first black woman to lead the Florida House Democrats. It is a thankless and difficult job. But guess what? She's right here in our backyard. She's likely to be on the ballot again for 2024. I saw where she just had an opponent. We can get out there and knock on doors for her. We can get out there and donate money or raise money for her. Like, there's so many different ways to get engaged in the political process. We just need to choose to do it. But I think the number one thing is if you are affiliated with a civic group or fraternity, sorority, whatever, set time up monthly to go register voters. Okay? There is a huge gap now between the Republicans and the Democrats in the state of Florida. Democrats have always led in voter registration for over 100 years. That's changed. All you got to do is get some forms from the SOE's office, knock on some doors. Hell, stand outside the supermarket even. I've done that and registered voters. It's really simple to do, you know. So we can get involved. It's a bunch of excuses when we choose not to.
Now, I want to push back on one component of that because, you know, the African American community has been in bed with the Democratic Party for a very long time, and oftentimes I hear people say, "Well, you know, what is it getting us? You know, we're involved. We've supported Democratic Party. Isn't it time we try something else?" What do you say to that argument? Hello? Did we lose Mr. Ray?
Oh,
yeah.
Clint?
Yeah.
Can
yeah.
you hear me?
Yeah, quick. Sorry about that. Yeah, so
What I
what
was
was your
gonna
response
say
to
is-
that? Go ahead.
What I'd say is you've heard me make that very same argument. But in the ideal world, all black people, we'd be independents. We wouldn't be a member of a party. We would have our vote courted and not taken for granted all the time. But what I'd say to that today is we've seen what the Republicans are willing to do when they are in office. And they have not put forth one policy in the last 7 years that has benefited black people. In fact, we've seen every hard-fought right that we had our ancestors, hell, I'm saying ancestors, some of our parents were on the front lines in the 60s fighting for those rights. We've seen those rolled back in the last decade. Everything from voting rights to housing rights to economic opportunities to the latest in affirmative action with college admission. This is all happening under a Republican-controlled Congress, a largely conservative Supreme Court, and with state legislatures that are Republican all across the country. So we've seen what the Republicans are willing to do, and I'll take the inaction of Democrats over someone who is constantly trying to take away my God-given natural rights. That's what I would say to that.
Well said. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Rain, for getting up this morning, coming in as always. I know with all the things that you are engaged in, including those LM management issues that you have to undertake. I know that your schedule is very full. Those beautiful girls, back in school, and you're guarding those roots with that. I'm sure you're walking up and down the sidewalk in West Tampa with your shotgun, looking for to maintain, protect them and do what you need to do for your family. So I want to thank you very much for getting up this morning, coming in.
No more guns, man.
No more guns. Huh?
Guns down, chairs up. I got 3 chairs in my trunk right now.
I hear you, man. All right. Outstanding, man. Well, thank you very much again. We appreciate you coming in. Take care. All right, that was Honorable Edna Rank out this morning to come in, and I know he's been chirping all week about what we had happened with over in Orlando, and this is something that's really, I think, should alarm black people. And I know one of the other things that there's an undercurrent of this, and that's been the recent black voter turnout. We don't get DeSantis if we get the turnout at the election. And so from their perspective, I don't have to be worried about these voters because guess what? Hey, they're not going to show up anyway. So why do I need to worry about them? And we need to change that, as Edna Rain said. We need to be engaged in these civic organizations. Black folks, with your money, please support your community organizations, whatever they are. We know none of them are perfect, but they need your financial support. As he mentioned, you have in our Hillsborough County, we have the upcoming NAACP Freedom Fund dinner that's coming up. But across this country, you have civic organizations that are making a difference in communities wherever they may be located. So I want you to really think about getting out and getting involved on that front. Also, listen, since Mr. Rain is checked out, the phone lines are open. I want to give the phone number out. You can call in and talk. If you want to listen, that's fine too. The call-in number is 813-444-9588. 813-444-9588. I want to take, before we go to this breaking, I was going to save to the end of the show, but I always end up running out of time. I want to shout out, unfortunately, we lost two local heroes in Hillsborough County. We lost Dr. Carl Warren, who passed away, just a long-time fighter in the community, supporting education and the rights of our community, and just really doing some hard-fought work to make things different. Dr. Warren was just a wonderful person and has been in our community for years and years and years. Unfortunately, he recently passed away, and they're having his services. Also, want to give a shout-out to Mr. Robert Cole. Mr. Robert Cole, we were preparing to celebrate his 100th birthday. He's 99 years of age, multi-generational entrepreneur in Tampa. Again, changing the landscape of Tampa, owning businesses, and the Cole family were one of the first black businesses in the airport out at Tampa Airport. And he's just been a wonderful person to so many people in our community. The Cole name is synonymous with our community, and we are just going to miss his impact and input. And I will say this, just a wonderful person to deal with, very thoughtful, sharp as a whip, and just really made a difference over the many, many decades. And so our hearts go out to his family, and that we just want to make sure that we lift them up as they bereave his loss, and what that will mean to our community. But it also means that it's time for other people to step forward, not just in our community, but wherever you are. And you know who you are. If you've been blessed by a community with opportunity, with economic impact, with the ability to develop and grow your business and do the things that you want to do, other people sacrifice to make that happen. We have an obligation to make sure that those doors stay open for people in the future. And I mean doors stay open because we see doors that are trying to close doors. Diversion programs. Well, what does that mean? That means that, over in Orlando, the first thing that new state attorney said is we're getting rid of diversion programs. Well, a couple of things. Let's just be frank about it. Unfortunately, communities of color are over-policed, which means they're over-arrested. And because they're over-arrested, which means they're in the system more so than other communities, which means that diversion programs are essential to not scarring or smearing somebody's record before they've gotten a chance to grow into adulthood and actually be a productive citizen. And now maybe that person, doesn't get the opportunity to economically provide for his family, or takes on greater risk, and you never know, he may actually, because that leads him down a bad path. Diversion programs are great. They help develop coping skills. They lighten the load on our criminal justice system by keeping people out of prison. They're just so beneficial. But the first thing they did is get rid of that. That's going to impact our communities. And this is the reason this is important around the country is you don't want your governor starting this. There are tyrant-type governors all over the place. As Mr. Rain mentioned, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, you see the kind of behavior that people in power are willing to do when it comes to the empowerment of African Americans. And so there are small things that undermine our growth and prosperity, and we have to be willing to step forward and take on those challenges. And one of the easiest ways you can do it, is to donate some of your money. You can contribute to the organization. I know you may not have the time, but you can send money. Some of those memberships are $25 and $50. We spend that on lunch or things of that nature. So I just want to encourage everybody, take a minute, find a community organization, and make sure they're as healthy and as strong as possible so that you can make sure that if your community comes under attack, you're ready for the fight. You're ready to make sure that those in power are held accountable. So let's do this. It is now time to take our last break of the day. We're going to take this break, come back on the other side. I want to remind you again, you can call. I will do the best I can not to set any traps and let you say what you have to say. 813-444-9588. This is In Touch News Radio, Reality Radio. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
Nestled in the heart of West Tampa, the Maduro Marauder Cigar Lounge offers a wide variety of premium cigars from Esteli, Nicaragua. In addition, the lounge offers a relaxed environment for you to come back, lay, chill, and relax and smoke a great cigar. Visit us at our brick and mortar location, 1944 West Main Street, Tampa, as well as online, www.maduromarauders.com.
When it comes to reality radio, everyone is a star.
I know that's right.
On your smooth soul and R&B station.
On the World Wide Web.
Access granted.
In Touch Radio.
All right, we're back live on In Touch News Radio, Reality Radio. We're about to be a star. Couple of things I want to say. First of all, I have some of the, I think, very enlightened, opinionated, and dynamic listeners there are. They send me all these crazy messages, and I want to thank you all. I get a lot of coaching on how I could, I get a lot of coaching and advice and guidance and corrections. Somebody said, it wasn't Nigeria, it was Niger. I guess I said that earlier about the coup, that it wasn't. And someone also said, just remember you're on camera. I get to talking, I feel like I said, I think I'm in an intersection, but really I'm on camera. So I gotta remember that I'm on camera. So I appreciate everybody listening, to sending me the messages, and also if you want to call in, feel free to do so. We don't get to take a lot of calls sometimes, but today's a day where there's a little bit of space. If you want to chirp up, feel free to call in 813-444-9588. I mentioned, like I said, the passing of Mr. Cole and Dr. Warren, who were just great leaders in our community. And we touched on a couple of things. But I got a couple of, I'm going to call these public service announcements. In my regular life, well, let's take this call. We got a caller. We got a caller calling in. Good morning, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good morning. It's Paul the trucker calling in. Just enjoying your show with our good information for Honorable Eddie Rain and yourself, good attorney.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you listening. Where you rolling at today? Where you taking the commerce over the interstate today?
I'm in Texarkana, Texas.
Okay, you coming or going? Are you going out to Texas? You coming back from Texas?
I'm going back up to Illinois.
Okay.
Do a drop and hook, drop that load there up in Bolingbrook, Illinois, and do me a 10-hour reset, and then I head that back down the door.
All right, help educate the peoples. What's the 10-hour? What does that mean? You get the kickback, you just be in the truck stop, your feet up. What we doing?
we're allowed to run 11-hour schedule, and after we do our 11 hours, we have to take a 10-hour off.
Okay.
To kind of reset your body and get a little rest in. So we, you can do whatever you want to on your 10-hour break, as long as you're fresh and alert to operate that vehicle.
Got it. Okay, good. All right, well, we want you to be fresh on the road. We want you to be safe out there and make sure, you're doing the best job you can, and we appreciate that. That's a tough job. I mean, you're away from your family, you're out on that road. We got crazy people out there that you deal with. And I know you see some crazies. I mean, they just because it's America. what would America be without crazies?
Oh, yeah.
But you see them all like that. So I want to thank you for that. So what's on your mind this morning politically, though? Your boy Joe doing okay? You worried about Trump? What's on your mind?
Well, speaking of crazies, with that over there in Alabama, that was a part of crazy there.
Oh, with Montgomery.
And just so much people and Montgomery, right? They're just being empowered by a lot of rhetoric that Trump is beginning to put out, and they're just trying to find their place and there's some of this anger and stuff that they got. Like saying he's like a cult leader.
Look, you hit on something. Because I don't think black people have really picked up on how angry white people are right now in certain sections of our country. They're angry. Because I would think in that moment, here was a black person exerting authority and power. And these folks, because the guy that starts the fight, he's not even in the discussion. He just charges up and just slams into the guy. But I don't think we understand this. It's kind of like sometimes, I shouldn't say it, but your wife go off. You're like, where all this came from? Well, I didn't see all this coming. I get the feeling, though, there's a real anger that Donald Trump is tapped into that manifests itself. And in that situation, because, I mean, that had nothing to do with anything but brutality. They were brutalizing that guy because they could. Not that he deserved it.
Okay.
Not to defend themselves. It was simply because we can.
Okay, well, what about this guy here in Utah that wants to harm all the officials that have anything to do with Trump's prosecution?
Wait, hold on. Are you talking about the guy that's dead?
Without just like.
Are you talking? Wait, hold on. Are you talking about the guy though that's dead?
The guy that where they killed the guy in Utah because he was armed. He made threats.
Yes.
The president, the vice president, and then attorney general.
Yeah, correct.
And
correct.
they went to you're right. So
civil warrant.
This guy, I mean, he just right. So I mean, that's cult. I mean, and Trump knows his arm is longer than we think it is. I mean, this guy he reaches out. He got to reach way out in probably somewhere in Canada too.
Because you have people that are influenceable. You have these people that are so easily influenced in America. They tied, and once they buy in, you almost can't undo it. They're going to do everything they can to follow along. This was the same thing you had when Hitler took over. You couldn't stop them because they bought into it.
And then you said something on the beginning of your show, misinformation.
Right. Information.
People misinformation, and people like you take that misinformation or whatever, and you hammer it in, and people start believing it.
You don't have to hammer it in.
And you have a lot of that. Well, you give them a good 30 minutes.
Look, you got to give them that. Listen, people want to believe something. They want to believe something. We by our nature, we want to believe something. And sometimes we just need somebody to tell us what we already want to hear, and we go off and run with it. But I was looking at that whole. I mean, tried to look at that situation in Montgomery from the white side and the black side. Here were some white folks.
Okay.
relative.
Right,
There we go. I think white, Carl. I think white. I'm telling you. I think white sometimes. Okay. My mind can do it. I'm telling you, I can do it. Watch me. I think in a Hispanic way at times as well. So let me just say this. So here we have the long-standing white folks of Alabama. It's steeped in white folks of Alabama history. They're steeped in it. They felt the rise of civil rights and the pushback that they did in Alabama to suppress it in Alabama. They really did. So here they are. And then they're not regular white folks, Carl. They're upper echelon white folks. Let me tell you how. They have their own business. They're no longer on somebody else's schedule. And they have a boat, which tells me they enjoy their free time and they got money to spend. So again, they've got even more sense of privilege than I would say a poor white person. And here they are with their boat where they think they should be able to enjoy it at a riverfront that they believe was built for them. And they've been drinking. And up comes a boat full of people that look different than them. They don't look the same. And they are needing those folks to yield space for these other people. And I'll just go out the line. Their whiteness wouldn't let them do it. Their whiteness would not let them concede. Well, why do I have to give up my privilege, what I have because I'm American, for you people? And because you're not as on the same place in space, and you don't have the same level of entitlement as I do. So I'm not going to do it. That's really, I think, what was their mind. That was the white thinking. So when the brother gets off the boat, comes on shore, and moves their boat, and then stands in their face and won't yield, it became evident to them, we have no choice here. We've got to put this man back in his place. He's out of position. He now thinks he's at the same level that we're in. So guess we're going to put him back into his place. What they didn't calculate was we all feel that way now. We all feel equal. We all feel like we're entitled to all that America has to offer. And so guess what? The other brothers, when they got off the boat, they wanted to make sure that they were clear to say, look, we're full Americans now. We have every right that you have, including the right to kick you in your you-know-what. And that's what they proceeded to do. That was, I think, what that symbolized. And around the country, I would say this. If black men, you need to be on alert. I wouldn't go around in certain environments right about now. I'd just be alert and aware of my circumstance around. Particularly, you're out on that road, Carl, driving that truck. Yeah, I know you can handle yourself. I seen you. I seen your shoulders. You're big-bodied. You're well endowed. You got some muscles on you. I would just say, I want to be conscious and aware of that. Right now. That was my interpretation from it. Now, some of the other things, I love the symbolism of the hat. I can't wait for that brother to be interviewed. It was so emphatic. What did you, when the hat went in the air, if you could put what he was saying and what was he saying by throwing the hat, Carl? When he threw the hat, that meant what?
I guess he was, I don't know. I mean, he threw the hat up or whatever, and that's another thing. I don't think he knew that someone there was watching or whatever, or someone would run to his aid. Didn't matter. It didn't matter. Maybe he did know.
Well, the hat wasn't for anybody. No, the hat wasn't for us. No. That hat wasn't for us. That was the classic hand thrower. He just happened to didn't want to get his hat scuffed up. He wanted to get out the way. So he
that hat right now is going for on sale for $100,000.
So listen, the way he threw the hat, it was clear. He wanted everybody to know this dude has just crossed the line and it's on now.
Like the hat comes off.
The hat's off. Nobody, right? The hat came off. And I like I said, but I think the messaging in this on both sides. The one message was you need to get back in your place, and the other message was no, we are no longer in any place, but up in your face, we're on the same plane as you are, even though we're just guys that work on a boat. Even though we don't own a boat, we just work on a boat. We don't own a business, we just work on a boat. But guess what? Even in that, we're on the same level as you are. I think that really, to me, what came out of it. The last thoughts, Carl. I got to get out of here. What else is on your mind, real quick? We got 30 seconds.
Well, that's really about it. And I'm just watching this trial with Trump or whatever, and I this last indictment with Georgia, so see how this is going to turn out. And I just can't wrap my mind around the fact.
I think we lost him. We lose him?
Hello?
Yep, we just lost him. That's all right. Then we'll get you back next week, Carl. Appreciate you very much for calling in. Appreciate all the listeners. Want to thank our brother Ed and the Rain for coming on. And there it is. My man is out there. Got the horn blowing. All right. Appreciate you, brother. Be safe on the road. Everybody else, go out and have a great day. And watch out for this heat. The heat wave is real. Watch out for the heat. In Touch News Radio, Reality Radio. Everybody can be a star. We'll be back next week, y'all. Take care.
Touch Radio, the most loved station across the nation. In Touch Radio. Tell a friend. In Touch Radio.
You love so good. I got to testify.